All right, everyone. Today we have a Materio Basics demo. This is really just going to be going over the framework of Materio. We'll get into some specific questions that have come in from some of you who have booked this. If you have questions while we're going through, just drop it in the chat, and I'm happy to kind of cover those with you. But we're going to dive in. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to talk about Materio. Okay, so in Materio, this is your dashboard. This is where you're going to land. This is where you kind of get a glimpse into your entire company and all the projects and tasks that have to do with your projects. I think the one thing that you'll notice here is that you can see your task across projects. You can also open up everyone's task across your team, and you can even filter down by specific projects and specific people. And so this is really helpful if it's, start of the week and we're trying to understand where things are at. We can move these here in done. We can also do this inside of our projects. You'll also notice that we do have some phases like design development or sourcing, client onboarding. So we'll dive into this in a little bit, but in your timeline, in your project, you can have work phases that you set up, and you can do a certain task that are planned. We call those planned tasks within those work phases. So you're going to get a big view into everything that's going on. And then some of the things that are not your task, but are potentially task of your team members that you're following and you need to know about are going to show up down here as tasks you're following. Any task in Materio, you can open it up, add attachments, add notes, assign it to someone else on the team, and also be notified if you'd like when it's done. And so this is really helpful. This example, return the lamp, we've got an attachment here that's a return label, and I want to know when this is completed, so I've been notified about it. Or I've been listed to be notified. And then over here on the left, we've got all of our projects. So we'll dive into projects. In Materio, the really cool thing is that on the right side, you have all of your visuals. So you can have different boards and information, and then floor plans as well. Let's look at this one as an example. So you can have your floor plans over here on the right, again, renderings or things you've uploaded here or boards that you've created in the system. And then on the left, we have our scope of work. And so this is going to be a living, breathing document that really actually replaces a spreadsheet. So a lot of times we hear that you guys are using design systems, but then you're having to use a spreadsheet on top of that to track finances or track orders or just track your specifications in order to hand it off to the builder or communicate with your clients. The last thing we want you to be doing is paying for design software and then using a spreadsheet on top of that. So Materio is really a solution, and I think the only solution that can allow you to do all of that in one place. And so we're going to dive into what the scope of work really can do for you and how that works. But at a glance, you can see that we have items here. Some of these items have a little square thumbnail here with a question mark, or you may see that some have a photo with an actual status here. That's because in Materio, certain items are selections, and selections are kind of think of it as a box. I need to get a prep sink. I don't know what that prep sink is yet specifically, but I know that I need that. And more importantly, I also can go in and on my elevations or on my floor plans, I can say, this kitchen sink is going to be right here, right? So we're actually tagging in the floor plan or on the elevation where this is, and it's connecting this kitchen sink to the plan and to my scope. And so you can see also on this one specifically, I already have two options in preparation to share with my client. So on top of making the connection, which is really helpful for not only the clients, but really for the builders and the subs, tangibly seeing where it goes in the space on the drawings. But then I can even present options to my client. So for the kitchen sink, here are the two options. Here are the price differences. Here's the visuals. Now I'm looking at this from the back end here where I can see a lot of specific information, but your client is going to be able to see this when they get invited to review selections. They're going to be dropped into the selections workspace here, and they'll be able to see confirmed selections, things they need to review and agree upon. They can even see how much they've already paid on an item, how much might be outstanding. So it gives them a lot of clear communication about what's happening on the project. So you're not having to send emails back and forth about everything that goes into the project. Now you can also, we'll exit out of this and go back to our view. You can see this in a table format as well. And we'll get into how we get this information out of Materio via live links and via prints and all of that. But this is a great place to understand where things are at. So in our scope, we've got those selection. And of course, we also have non-selectable items. You might be adding in your design services, like our design fees here, where you have an estimated amount of hours, or you can do flat fee. This may be construction materials or very specific technical things that your client might not see. And then I think the other really cool thing that we've got in Materio that can help you get really organized is this idea of a component item. So let's just say that in the bathroom, we were going to add in a shower system. We can add that in, and then we can actually say we want this to be a multi-component item where we have the shower head, the wand, the diverter, the valves, the labor to put this in, right? So you can have all of these very specific back-end pieces here. And then you can even slot in products for these. So let's actually go and look for um, got our whole system built in here. So we can go in and put very specific things in. I'm just going to grab a few options, but you'll notice that when I go and I pull in one product, if there's any kind of other shipping for that item, it will actually pull in as well. We'll just rename this shipping. So if you had that saved in your library with shipping for that specific part, it's going to pull in. So this is also really great for custom furniture. Let's say we're building out a custom chair. We got to have the frame, the filling, the pillows, the trim, the nail heads, whatever it might be. And then all of that has to be shipped to the actual workroom or manufacturer. They have to make it, and then we need to pay for shipping to get the whole thing to our receiver. So you're going to be able to spell out on the back end what is happening on your project. So I think that's like one of the really powerful things about Materio. And then on top of that, when you go to your open selections, this is actually a really easy way for you to see everything that is needed. So when we think of traditional project management, we think of lots of sheets and lots of automations that we have to build in order to get things from A to B. The really cool thing is that in Materio, we've actually studied those workflows and we're continuing to study those workflows. And so what we're doing is taking you from A to B, right? Or A to B to C to D to E. And we're taking you all the way through the project from we just have a concept, we need to propose it, to we need to source something. And the other thing that you might find yourself running into is, well, we've got a lot of projects and we have, hired new team members to help us with the workload. But in fact, I don't really feel like hiring new team members has helped with the workload. It's just added a little bit of chaos. If you're feeling that way, it's probably because you're not operating inside of a really efficient system. So our hope is that if you implement the system like Materio, and we hear this often, you're going to be able to have a framework to fall into. Whether you're hiring people or whether your team is just lacking a framework, we're going to be that framework for you. So I've got my selections here. It's telling me exactly what needs to be sourced in this room. Let's actually add a few more items because I want to pull this in. Let's do some, also we're going to do some bathroom. We're going to have some sconces in there. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to have in the bathroom, we're going to have a shower system. We're going to have a faucet. We're going to have a toilet. And one of the things I'm really excited about is our kits coming soon, which is going to be an easy way to insert save rooms, save spaces, save categories like that. And it's going to have budgets there. You can even have pre-populated products if you'd like. So you're going to be able to do this really, really quickly. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and select some placeholder products for this for an estimation. And this is really great when you're trying to just get a proposal out to your client really quickly. It's just, you know what, this is the last thing that I used on another project. And it kind of gives you a great budgeting tool here. And then we're going to go back over to our selections and we're going to look at our bathroom here and we can see that we're going to pull in some items from our library. So you can clip these. The library is built out by you and your team as you go along. There's no need in my mind to dump everything in all at once. This is something that you can build. A lot of you are doing custom projects. You're not repeat using the same thing. So we're going to be pulling those in as we are thinking about the project and what this client actually wants and what we want the design to be. And then I'm going to pull in a few of these as well. I'll use these two options. And so you can see that this makes it really, really clear um, what is outstanding and what has options on it. And then once you're ready to send, you can always send these over to your client. Let's just go ahead and add this last one. We'll do this one. So we can go ahead and send this over to our client. Materio is going to let you know if you are missing markup on anything before you send it. And if you try to send it, it's even going to issue a little bit of a warning. So it's just going to be there to help you make sure that you are profitable, that your markups are there. I'm going to bypass this and go ahead and send it. And now you'll see it's cleared out of open and the selections have gone onto client review. So in this case, my client's going to be dropped in and they're going to see something like this where they're dropped into the selections workspace exactly where they need to go, and they can open this up. They can communicate with you here. So a big thing is communication, right? Have specific questions about this product. I don't need to be sending an email with lots of line items, per the shower system. I'm not sure. You can come right to the item, right to the specific product, and ask questions about it. You can talk internally and client facing on this item. And that is just really powerful. Clients love to engage on understanding things and making choices on their project. So we're going to say that we approve this one. And then you can also see that the client will see what they've also approved in this location, which is really cool. So as they're making decisions, they can have some context there about what they've approved. And so that's helpful to them for them to maybe make decisions. Like in this case, I've got a lot of black in my selection so far. So for me, I'm thinking, oh, I want to pull in the black in the brass, but I still like the brass element, so I'm going to keep that. Obviously, they can decline options as well, and they can also just communicate with you about something and ask questions, and they don't have to approve anything yet. It can still be an ongoing dialogue. They can approve things one-off, or they can make, lots of decisions at once. So it's really flexible. It's this very clear interface for your clients where they can come in and understand. Now, not only can they see what they're reviewing, they can also see a limited view into what is confirmed. So let's exit out of this. They actually can't see the table view, so let's view it again. This is what they see. So they can see again where things are at in the project. Has my team been, working on things? Are they ordering things? Have I paid for things? And the reason this is helpful is because as a design team, sometimes there are moments where you're in a big procurement phase and there might be things not happening on the job site. Things don't feel like they're moving forward, and clients can get antsy in those times. So it's really nice to have a place that they can go to and kind of check in on what they are worried about on the project and have a place to communicate with you about that. You'll notice when they view it, they're not seeing a lot of information, whereas if we exit out of this, you're going to see details on the invoice that it's connected to, declined options, any components, so sub pieces like we mentioned earlier. This fabric is ordered, this one's received, and this one's being shipped right now. And you can also do things like reopen selections and move through the sourcing process if you need to reopen or do anything like that. All right, so we've gone through kind of like the essence of Materio and the connectivity of Materio. Another thing I think that's really important for designers to know, one thing that I believe is super important is time tracking. So even if you're flat fee, I know you might not want to hear this, but I believe in time tracking, and still a lot of designers are operating with time tracking, on their projects and billing hourly. So I would definitely still bill for this. Now, it should default to your project that you're on, Baker Street Loft. And then I would just say that for this, maybe I'm working on conceptual design, and I could start the timer, pause the timer, resume, all of that. I can also stop this and just manually go in and say that I did something. So maybe I had a consultation and it was 2 hours and I wanted to make that billable. I could also toggle this off if I want to track the time and not bill for it. I'm going to save that time entry there. So be sure to track your time in Materio. That's going to help you eliminate doing this in QuickBooks, doing this in a spreadsheet, texting it to each other, notes, or doing it in Harvest or something like that. It's going to be in Materio. And then when we're ready to bill for our time, I'm going to show you how easy that is. So now we have Materio breakdown. Let's look at the finances. In Materio, we have the ability to send retainers Collect retainers, deposits. I'm going to go ahead and just delete this one and start over. Retainers, as well as directly invoice for all of the items that you have. So you may start your project with collecting a retainer. This is going to be earlier on when I'm sending the design agreement or contract, which can also be done in Materio. But let's just say that I'm sending the retainer over. I want to send it to my client, and I'm going to add, project retainer, and it's 50,000. I'm gonna go ahead and add that. We do have Materio Pay, which is our native payment processor. It allows you to get paid through the system and makes, tracking the invoices and all that really easy. You can choose to cover the fee, or you can choose to have your client cover the fee on these. There's card and ACH options. Of course, you can put in your legal terms here and just send that over. And once your client pays that, we'll just say that we received a check for this one. You can send them a payment confirmation, which can be really helpful if you're doing something like depositing a check. And now that's paid, so you'll see that I have a $50,000 retainer available to me. So I would have done that earlier in the project. And now that I have some items approved, I'm actually going to make sure that I bill for them. So I'm going to go ahead and do new invoice. And in this case, I'm actually going to add in my project scope. And I'm going to filter it down by just the items that are selected. Now, the cool thing about Materio is that you can actually bill for anything that's been estimated, which can really speed up your procurement process. But for today's demo, I'll just do things that are approved. So we've got that in, and we want to go ahead and collect for 100%. If you are the type to collect for less, you can use this slider to your advantage. We're going to add that in. And then we can even choose to format the scope. I'm going to organize it by location because my client likes to see it that way. If you have any fees like project management, procurement, fees like that on your project, you would normally leave those on. I just have this example, so I'm going to turn that off. And then I'm going to send this over for payment. Again, we do have a QuickBooks integration, so you can notice these are syncing over. Now this is synced over, and you can open this up in QuickBooks and take a look at it. If you are the person who has the QuickBooks login, otherwise you'll just be redirected. You won't be able to see it. But if you're the admin or the accountant on the project, you can very easily access the QuickBooks integration syncs. So you can see, okay, the invoices are syncing, the expenses and POs are syncing, and you can easily jump over to QuickBooks and see that. We're going to go ahead and just mark this as paid. And I want to show you, well, let's actually use some of our retainer. So let's go ahead and use this much of our retainer. We're going to apply it. And then now we're just going to close it because actually I used the retainer to pay all of it. So that's it. That one was paid. In that case, you could have just used some of it and then you could have sent it over. Either way, your clients are going to get a really nice view into their project finances. So just they can see the invoices that are outstanding. They can see how much of their invoices they've paid and how much of their project is still remaining. They can actually see where they've gone over and under on the selections budgets if you have that turned on for them. So they can see where they've actually decided to go over or under budget. This is really great for just being transparent about kind of the original proposal that you gave them and where they've decided to upgrade. So this is all really helpful for kind of keeping up with communication for them. So now we have that paid, and if we go to our selections and confirmed, you'll see that these are now fully paid. So it's just really, really easy to keep track of the communication here. It really kind of takes away part of the burden of having to communicate about a project. So I think that's one of the kind of biggest assets and takeaways from using Materio is that instead of just moving your communication into a tool like ClickUp or Asana, you actually have the ability to eliminate the need for extraneous communication, and it really just happens here. Now, one thing I know a lot of people have asked about on today's demo is tasking. And so I want to go into kind of tasking. We hit on like seeing that at the beginning of your project in the dashboard, but I want to go over task in this project itself. So here you'll see that we have tasks. We have all of our team member tasks, which are coming from our plan task, and then you can add your own new task. So if you need to send an email to Marlon, who's the client, you could save that. It's going to default to you. So this is kind of your personal task list. If you then wanted to hand this off to, let's say, Maddie, I would reassign it to Maddie and it would clear off of my personal to-do list. So you can create task here, defaults to you, your kind of ongoing task list for this project, easily hand it off to someone else on your team. Now that's where tasking lives kind of at the top, a task widget, but in our timeline, we do have what we call work phases. And inside these work phases, we do have planned tasks. So when you join Materio or when you sign up for a trial, you'll see that we do have some templates. We have a design template and a construction template in the timeline. You can feel free to utilize those. And then inside each of these work phases, we do have planned tasks. And this just means it's a task that your team knows they're going to do every time they do this work phase. So every time we do site analysis, we know we're going to document existing conditions, we're going to do an on-site consult, we're going to take photos and we're going to submit them to the project Materio. So it's just a way for you to have a repeatable process built into your project. And then any other one-off tasks that might be associated with this project, like that email I wanted to send or the LAMP return, those are going to show up under other tasks as well. And the timeline is a pretty robust tool. You can go to our YouTube channel and check out, there's about a 13-minute video there on the timeline. But it's really cool to just see at a glance that you can kind of extend this if it has other phases that are dependent on it. You can move those. And so I could choose to kind of push certain things or drag this one out. And you'll notice that it just pushes concept development and it pushes space planning because all those are dependent on each other. So check out that video and learn more about the timeline and tasking in Materio. I think if that's something that your team really needs, make sure you check out that video. Now, when it comes to activity, let's dive in a little bit on the activity. So this is just everything that has happened in your project, but where this can get really helpful and interesting is when your team starts to put in notes about a project. So you can always filter down by just the notes and apply it there. If people have taken progress notes with photos, it's going to show up. You can also come in and add a note yourself. So you need to summarize a meeting that you just had, add existing photos. You can do that from here. You can also do that from our mobile app. And you can choose whether or not you want your clients to see this. This is helpful if you want to publish something to them, like a daily report or kind of daily photos. But if it's just something internal and you want it to be meeting notes and a summary just to have as project documentation, you could always opt for that as well. And then once you're ready to kind of share with your client progress, another thing that makes it super streamlined for communication here is our progress report. So you'll come to your activity feed and you can prepare the first progress report. Here you can choose to filter down by certain, activities and dates. You can choose to show those progress notes and photos or show recent activity, show upcoming work or not. That just determines whether or not we want to show things from our timeline down here. And this is a great way to customize the message and kind of let them know what's been going on. The other thing is all of your notes from your time tracking within that period will show up right here. So I like that because whoever is responsible for sending out the progress report to the client may not be the person who was doing all of the work. So they can kind of get an idea of the work that was done this week, take that message and kind of create a general update of what was done and send that over to the client. So this is really helpful for just communicating to your clients weekly and just letting them know. This can also be used for outside collaborators. So anybody who's on your project will show up here as a potential recipient. So you could formulate, if maybe you're doing the project management on this, but you're working with a builder, you could formulate a report and send it over to them. All right, I think for the sake of time, I think there's one last thing I want to cover today, which is really, really important, which is getting your material schedules and all the specifications out of Materio and to the builder, or not out of Materio and just to the builder or to the team. So in this case, I'm going to show you the live links first. So we're going to go to share. And at the bottom of share, we have this thing called view only links. And view only links gives you the ability to specify what you want to be in a new link. So we're going to call this tile selections. Maybe we'll call it specs. And then you can choose which categories of work that are in your scope you want to share. So we'll do tile. And then you can actually choose which visuals you want to share with your builder or with the subs. And so in this case, I'm going to unselect them all and just do a few elevations because I don't think they need all of that. So we're going to hit save. And what this is going to do, we're going to copy this link and I will show you what this looks like. So this is a live link into the project. You can see they can see the markers here. They can click on them. They can see more information. So for instance, this one has some files attached to it that were clipped with the product. So it has some material guidelines. You may have installation instructions. So whatever you clip or pull into that item, you can add in and it'll be there once it's approved and handed off. Um, so this just gives a really, really easy, accessible way to view the project without them having to log in, without the builder having to ask a lot of questions or request documents. It's going to be here. And the best thing is if you change something in Materio, it's going to be there when they go to visit the link again or they refresh the page. You don't have to print something and make sure that it's handed over to them. So this is really, really helpful. You can also take this link and email it to them if you'd like. And then also you can do the print QR code function, which allows you to print this and hang it up at the job site. They can scan this QR code and access that live link at any time. So I really, really recommend the live link as sort of the first option. If you're not so into the live links, you can always come in and do export print or share and then print selections. And this is going to give you also some options. If you're handing off to a builder and the builder is doing the procurement, then you could choose to show vendor information and even show prices. And you can do, you can filter down by the locations or categories of work, even specific vendors. And we're going to print this out. And this is going to give us a really nice schedule. Oh, I want to turn off the description. I always tend to put a long description and I don't like the way that shows up. So turn that off. And then I'm going to be able to show this. I think this is just a really elegant solution to the specifications. And the cool thing is you've already been doing all the work to organize this and approve with clients. There's no like taking that elsewhere and putting it into a sheet. This is going to be already there and we just formulate it for you. So I love this feature. I think this is great. I think it's taking the headache out of creating your own spec books or sheets or buying templates from anyone. This really, really like is just already here for you. So I think that's huge. So I think that's kind of the second option for getting it out. We have other exports. You can export as Excel and it has the pictures in it. But that one is really, really just pretty. And I think it works really well. Okay, I lied. There's one last thing I want to tell you about, which is the boards. We didn't really touch on this. You can create boards in Materio, and not only can you create boards with just things you pulled from your library or uploaded, but you can also use the actual selections in your scope to pick. So you'll notice these are actual products that are attached to actual items in my project. So I can click them. Whereas like these are just images that I've added in. So you can build actual product boards with the selections, and then you can easily present two options. So you'll see this is the second option for the nightstand, the second option for the bench. Whereas on this one, I've got the first options. And so it's really easy to duplicate the board and build those out. So if you're interested in putting your design presentations into Materio, I would definitely check out our boards video. It goes through a few different use cases of how you can use those, how they can be in the project, and just kind of how that works in Materio. So I think that's it. I know we've crammed a lot in. But I think I've tried to cover all the things that were on the booking today, the questions that we had around tasking, invoices, what the clients see, communication, handing things off to builders and subs, providing documentation. I hope that was all clear. We're so excited for you to explore using Materio. We're just continuously shocked at how many people love it and how much their business is really thriving off of it. So I'm excited for you to try it. We do have a 14-day free trial. You do not have to put in your credit card. We are here to learn and serve you. So please try it out if you're at all interested. And if you have any questions while you're in your trial, you could always reach out uh, using the live chat down here at the bottom right of your dashboard. You can always reach out to us there, or you can email us at hello@materio.co. So thank you for everyone for joining me today. We hope that we can make you love and enjoy project management, and that really this can be something that you don't have to work so hard at, and you can spend your time, with your family and doing the really fun parts of design. So thank you again, and have a great day.